Have you ever known someone was bad for you, yet you couldn't stop thinking about them? Maybe they lied to you. Maybe they broke your trust. Maybe they made promises they never kept. You knew the relationship was hurting you, but somehow, walking away felt impossible. If you've ever experienced this, you're not alone. Millions of people find themselves trapped in relationships that cause more pain than happiness. And the strange part is that the more toxic the relationship becomes, the harder it can be to let go. Why does this happen? Why do we crave toxic love? The answer lies deep within human psychology. The difference between love and attachment. One of the biggest misconceptions people make is confusing love with attachment. Love is built on trust, respect, consistency, and emotional safety. Attachment, however, is simply an emotional bond. You can become attached to someone who is good for you, but you can also become attached to someone who repeatedly hurts you. In fact, emotional attachment often grows strongest when your emotional needs are only partially met. That's why some of the most painful relationships become the hardest to leave. The brain loves uncertainty. You might think your brain wants stability, but surprisingly, uncertainty can be incredibly addictive. When someone treats you well one day and badly the next, your brain becomes focused on figuring them out. You start asking questions. Why are they acting different? Did I do something wrong? What can I do to make things better? Your mind becomes obsessed with finding answers. The relationship turns into a puzzle that you desperately want to solve. And the more confusing it becomes, the more mental energy you invest in it. The reward cycle. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. Imagine receiving affection only occasionally. Sometimes they text you all day. Then they disappear for days. Sometimes they make you feel like the most important person in the world. Then they act as if you don't matter. Because the rewards are unpredictable, your brain keeps chasing them. This is the same principle used in gambling. You never know when the next reward is coming. And that's exactly what keeps people playing. Toxic relationships often create the same cycle. You become addicted to the possibility of receiving love, not necessarily the love itself. Why we ignore red flags. When we're emotionally invested, our brains often ignore warning signs. We justify behavior that we would normally never accept. We say things like, they've been through a lot. They didn't mean it. They'll change. They still care about me. Over time, excuses replace reality. Instead of seeing the relationship for what it is, we focus on what we hope it could become. And hope can be incredibly powerful, sometimes more powerful than facts. The childhood connection. Many psychologists believe our early experiences shape how we experience love as adults. If love felt inconsistent during childhood, you may unconsciously associate love with uncertainty. If affection had to be earned, you may grow up believing relationships require constant sacrifice. As adults, we often seek what feels familiar, even when that familiarity hurts us. This doesn't mean your past controls your future, but understanding these patterns can help you break them. The fear of being alone. For many people, the fear of loneliness is stronger than the fear of heartbreak. Being alone forces us to face uncomfortable emotions. It forces us to sit with ourselves. And sometimes that feels terrifying. So we stay, not because we're happy, but because leaving feels scarier. Unfortunately, staying in a toxic relationship often creates a different kind of loneliness. You can feel completely alone while sitting right next to someone. The fantasy version of them. Here's something many people don't realize. Often, you're not attached to the person. You're attached to the version of them that exists in your imagination. The version that finally changes. The version that finally chooses you. The version that finally becomes everything you hoped for. But relationships must be judged by reality, not potential. By actions, not promises. By consistency, not occasional moments of kindness. The cost of toxic love. Toxic relationships don't just hurt emotionally. They affect every part of your life. Your confidence decreases. Your anxiety increases. You overthink constantly. You lose focus. You stop trusting yourself. Eventually, you begin to question your own worth. And that's one of the most damaging effects of all. Because once you stop believing in yourself, you become easier to manipulate. How to break free. The first step is awareness. You cannot change a pattern you don't recognize. Ask yourself, does this relationship bring me peace or constant anxiety? Do I feel valued or constantly uncertain? Am I staying because I'm happy or because I'm afraid to leave? These questions can reveal truths you've been avoiding. The second step is accepting reality. Not who they could become, not who they promise to be, who they consistently show themselves to be. And finally, choose yourself, not in a selfish way, in a healthy way. Protect your peace. Protect your self-respect. Protect your future. Final thoughts. The hardest truth about toxic love is this. You can love someone deeply and still recognize they're not good for you. Love alone is not enough. Respect matters. Trust matters. Consistency matters. Healthy love should not feel like an emotional roller coaster. It should feel safe. It should feel supportive. It should help you grow instead of breaking you apart. So if you're struggling to let go of someone who hurt you, remember, the goal isn't to stop caring overnight. The goal is to stop sacrificing your well-being for a relationship that continues to hurt you. Because real love doesn't leave you constantly wondering where you stand. Real love makes you feel secure enough to simply be yourself.